Hey, it's Aaron from Drive Mode Show.
And Sarah from A Girl's Guide to Cars.
So Sarah and I have been friends for a very long time. We're both from the Rocky Mountain area, and we knew each other through the Rocky Mountain Automotive Press organization. Had lots of dinners sitting across from each other, lots of events where we're just like driving cars and talking about them and whatever.
Breeze.
Well, you took a hiatus for quite a while.
Did.
So you left the industry for a while, and then you've just come back.
Yes.
And you landed this sweet spot.
I really did.
Just
so lucky.
yeah. It was like when you go to the air show and the parachute guy comes in and just goes punk exactly where he said he was going to land. She did that. So this is your first major auto show in 6 or 7 years, right?
It is.
And the reason we want to talk about that is because this is like somebody who is a veteran of the industry, but also a complete noob.
More the latter than the former in this moment, for sure.
So, just to get started, what was your first impression like when you walked in and you went like this to show that you're legit with the name badge?
I'm in.
And then you saw what was right there. What was your first like?
You know, it's a lot of fun to re-enter this world with the bright lights and the bright colors. The thing that will always be the same about auto shows is the fabulous presentation. It's so much fun to come in and kind of get the new car and new carpet smell. You see the beautiful paint jobs and, of course, the shiny objects. It will always be dazzling.
Giant red truck.
Shiny!
So we're just going to walk around the show a little bit and show you some of what's here and talk to Sarah about what she's seeing and how it feels to be back on this.
Some fresh eyes. Fresh old eyes with glasses now.
All right, so Sarah, we're in front of the Jeep display. This is a long-going, they've done this for a very, very long time.
Yes.
You remember these, right?
I do remember these, and back in the day it was just a staple. Everybody wanted to get on the ride with the Jeeps, and so it's an old display, but it does not lose any of its appeal over time. And in fact, it helps that they have some new models that they're driving here, like the Jeep Grand Cherokee. So that makes it a lot of fun and very interesting for even long-time Jeep participants.
Yes, and these are staples at auto shows. They do them at our Denver auto show.
Yeah.
They've done it here for probably a million years.
Yeah.
Ever since Willys first came up with the idea for one of these,
Gosh,
they
I didn't
probably.
know it was Willys. I'm learning as I go. Yeah.
So what they always have here are ramps for articulation. Behind us over that way are stairs. So it's literally going up and down a staircase.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the piece, the resistance or whatever, right?
The big one. The big one.
So do you know how tall that is?
I don't know how tall.
No?
I have a feeling you're going to tell me, though.
53 feet.
Okay.
That's the maximum they can do before they start hitting ceiling girders.
Okay. All right.
They're
Good to
proud
know.
of that because one of their competitors has the same kind of ramp, but it is much shorter.
It's a smaller ramp. Oh,
And
boy.
if we know anything about Fiat, Chrysler, Ram, etc., it is they want to have that best in whatever
The thing is,
in front of everything.
The best.
So
Right.
what's it like
So-
for you to breathe the exhaust smoke and see this again?
It's so fun. And, you know, I find that this display in particular is a lot of fun just to stand here and watch because when you do go over by the stairs and watch, you can see all the different, you know, pieces of technology working, the four-wheel drive programs and all of that. So it's a lot of fun to observe as much as it is to you know, take part in. So yeah, you always love to hear the engines
and then it's exciting for you to see you here for me because Chicago is such a big show, but it's not like New York or Detroit, or where it's a constant run from one place to the next in this vast place. Chicago's way more laid back.
And Chicago's always been focused on the consumer. It's been less about concepts and less about projects and development, although there are many here to look at. But, it's always been focused on the people who are actually going to be buying the cars. So it makes it fun to participate for the media because, those are our people a lot of times who we're writing to. So we can really relate to the vehicles that are available and the displays that are here.
So very cool. Let's go check something else out.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So,
it's a lot of walking. You've got to remember your comfy shoes.
Auto
that
shows
has not changed one bit.
Right, and the funny part is that this is smaller than usual. This show is usually both sides of the building, and it's still huge.
I know. I'm kind of relieved about that because it makes a nice, gentle entry back into the auto show world. So yeah, I don't mind that a bit.
So we're standing in front of an electric car. This is the Ford Mustang Mach-E, and if you say it's not a Mustang, sucks to be you, because it is. It's in the name. Anyway.
What I like about a lot of the electric cars that I'm seeing now, as opposed to back in the day, is that they all look a lot like regular cars. There are some concepts, of course, that look kind of outlandish, and there are some EVs that definitely fit the kind of the futuristic Jetsons car profile. But I also like that a lot of EVs are now very undercover, and you kind of have to seek them out a little bit. You can be a little surprised by some of the electric offerings.
And for 3 or 4 years now, I've been saying the downfall of electric cars is that everybody tries to make a spaceship, and you need to not do that. The electric cars that do well look like a car. They don't look like a special weird something. They don't look like they came out of a sci-fi movie.
Right.
And so Ford has been doing that. We've seen it. Volkswagen, a couple of companies are coming out with electric cars that are regular cars. And honestly, I think the reason Tesla took off was because they had the weird quirky spaceship things, but overall, a Model S looks like a sedan.
It was rooted very much in a traditional body style,
Right.
And the interesting thing now is the electric trucks are coming. So you have, this whole electric wave of pickups that all look very pickup-y, with the exception of the Tesla Cybertruck, but which is not here. But
I don't even know if it's out. I don't think it is.
Who knows?
I think he promised again this year. I don't know.
Okay, whatever.
But so from your perspective, this will be interesting. When you took your hiatus, when you kind of left from this business for a little while, electric cars were still like they might happen sometime, they were mostly concept cars. And now everybody has at least one. So what's that like for you to suddenly have to learn a new thing?
I'm glad you brought that up, because it is one of those things that in that moment it was like, oh my gosh, someday this is what's going to happen, and that day is today. You don't always know when you're in the future, and kind of the future is now. I'm having kind of that moment, and it's a lot of fun. I think the Nissan Leaf was out at the time, and there were a lot of kind of hybrid and plug-in hybrids. The Prius had a little plug-in hybrid, but it was still very early on in the process. So it's been fun to see how the manufacturers have made good on some of these commitments, and also how some are still being convinced to come along. But,
the interesting part for me, because being a dude, I have to crunch numbers, right? It's you gotta come up with numbers, right? You gotta justify something. I don't know, but anyway, That's a whole different conversation. We'll quickly not get family friendly.
It's a different video.
So,
Different video.
but what I've had to learn to do is, first off, I'm writing for an international audience at this point. I'm not just writing for Americans. So I'm writing an American perspective internationally. And because of that, I've had to convert numbers. And now, because of electric cars, I'm having to convert horsepowers to kilowatts. And, when you look at a vehicle like this, horsepower doesn't actually matter.
Right.
What matters is torque and kilowatts. And that's like a whole new ball game. I'm having to relearn like 6th and 7th grade math so that I can do things like, what's the fuel economy on this in electric?
And thank you for doing that, because it really is a mental exercise that I, coming back here, am still familiarizing myself with. And I'm sure people who are out there in the market wanting to look at these cars and buy them are a little stymied by. So thank you for doing that.
What I've learned talking to people is that they get very nervous because the numbers that are given to them are always things like estimated range. They are not things like how far can you really go, not like what's your range, but in terms of if I charge it for 2 hours, how much time can I drive it for? Those sorts of things.
And what is estimated? So does that mean if you're wrong, I have 5 miles or 1 mile or 15? When you're in that moment, those are very different numbers that can be either very comforting or very concerning.
I call it puckering. So it's interesting.
I'm sorry.
I am the comic relief.
Oh my God.
That's my job.
Oh, well done.
Anyway, what for me I really want to hear is your just perspective on now you're seeing this stuff and it's new and you're having to learn it. But at the same time, you already have this really solid background, so now...
and I've been reflecting on that a lot since I got here, and a lot of it is kind of those math moments, figuring out, is this a good value? Is this fuel efficient or economical, to use a more accurate term? So I feel a bit like that rudimentary math is something that I'm relearning, and that I'm sure a lot of people do when they come back around to this world. But there are also some in-car technology things that I'm getting used to. Of course, I'm familiar with my own car and Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, but there's all kinds of navigation systems, camera systems, all of that have been a big learning curve. Fortunately, it's fun. So it's a nice learning, it's an enjoyable learning, and of course, as always, all of my friends are so helpful in answering my questions when I'm like, oh my God, Erin, I don't know what that thing is. So the best part of coming back to this is circling back to the people that I've known for so long and remembering the community that I have here in the automotive world.
And it's just really cool to be here. Even as somebody who's been doing this for quite a while, and to see somebody who is not new but is new coming to it, and to also just see what's happening in the industry itself. This morning, before we came here, we watched one of my personal idols receive an award. Sue Mead was given an award. When I was a teenager, I would read her articles in Four Wheeler and other magazines, and now I'm literally like on hugging terms with her and spending I've gotten to do drive events with her and drive in a car with her and other things, and it's a huge thing, and it's for all of us, it's those mentors that create it.
And Sue is amazing. She's always been open in sharing. She is not a guarded person. She will happily talk to you about her experiences. And I can remember back when I was new, in about 2008, I was having a moment where I was feeling a little like, what is my role in this world? Because we're all writing, we're all trying to figure out who we're talking to. And Sue was always so very generous, not only with her time, but with her gentle reminders that there is room for everybody. And I will carry her words of wisdom with me, whether I'm in the automotive world or not. So.
And That's something that I've learned just about this industry in general. If you come in to an auto show, whether you're a consumer, a journalist, a news personality, or anything, you come into this, and if you're willing to say, I don't know what that is, there are plenty of people who will be happy to not treat you like you're a moron for not knowing this.
Right.
They will come and explain it and be happy to talk about it and give those mentorships and those, that helping hand. And that's a great, great thing, because I've had it from men, from women, from PR people, from at one point a Fox newscaster, just people telling you.
Nobody came into this knowing everything.
Right.
So you have to allow yourself some grace, you have to ask questions, and when you are the person that people are asking questions to, be open and understanding, and remember that, maybe even just 5 minutes ago you were asking somebody about fuel efficiency of the new Mach-E or whatever it was. We are all learning from each other all the time, and that is a constant in this environment, because things change so much. You can't know everything. Well, okay, maybe you do.
No. I just remember things. There's a difference.
Yeah, but as I mentioned before, and I'll reiterate again, everybody is so willing to help if you're willing to ask the questions. So
right. And one of the great things about this particular industry as a journalist or any sort of media person in automotive, you can literally start anywhere. You started writing about child safety seats, right?
Yes.
I started making fun of electric scooters. Literally, that's what I did.
And I'll touch on that for a minute, because at the time when I started writing, people were not talking about cup holders. They were not talking about car seats. They weren't talking as much about life in the car. And at the time, it seemed very unusual to be saying, no, I'm not as concerned about horsepower as I am about whether or not my double stroller can fit in the back.
Right.
And it was unusual, but it was not unwelcome.
Right.
It was something that people started realizing that, oh, yes, everybody wants to know these things who has a family, and that is a lot of people. And so there were some fun adventures I had in that regard, with talking to manufacturers and visiting plants and learning about, I went to IIHS and did the crash test safety lab and all of that. So, whatever your angle is, whatever the thing is that you love about cars or that you find important about cars, or the thing that you want to know about that we're not talking about, talk about it. Talk about it. Get in there and share with us what you think and what you want to know about.
So, it's really awesome to see you again.
Yeah, it's so great.
I'm
and
so glad
you,
she's back
Aaron.
in this.
I'm so happy we're going to do a hug, because you've been just such a supporter of mine. And
We broke the 3-foot rule.
I know. Sorry, but I'm
So,
happy to be here. So there it is.
Really cool. So that's it. I don't know how to wrap this one up. I suck at that part.
You
so
do?
I think we'll just call it good.
Conclusion.
Hit subscribe and all that stuff.
Hit subscribe. It's happy to be here, and it's a pleasure to be in front of the camera with you after all of this time.
Oh, it's awesome. And she lives near me, which, in Wyoming terms, that means inside of 200 miles.
Couple hundred.
She's in the Denver area, and I'm up in Wyoming, of course. But that means that we're going to see each other way more now, because we're going to be going to the same events.
We're going to be doing this more.
Yeah. So you'll probably see more of her as well.
And I look forward to seeing more of you and talking to more of you.
Awesome.
All right.